You think you've been cold? Not this cold.
You won't believe what just happened. I may have stole one of Maria's primes. Don't tell her. This isn't cheating, by the way.
Man, being here in Iceland, shooting on these prime Sigma lenses has been incredible.
Doesn't get much better than that, except the Sigma zoom lenses, which are amazing.
51.2.
60 to 600.
This kind of gives me an idea.
What is it?
Should we challenge prime versus zoom?
Absolutely.
Is that a volcano up there?
The one straight ahead?
Yeah.
That's Eyjafjallajökull.
Oh, sorry, say that again?
Eyjafjallajökull.
Wow.
All right, first things first, we're gonna shoot the Aurora Borealis. Yes, the northern lights here in Iceland. Maria's gonna be on the primes, I'm going to be on the zooms. Let's see how these Sigma lenses perform.
So it's blue hour and we're framing a couple of our shots. I'm with the 20mm and Matt's with the
14 to 24 millimeter.
So right now we're in one of the most famous spots in Iceland with a beautiful waterfall and a massive mountain facing right at us, 12 o'clock. It's gorgeous. So I decided to go with the 20mm. For me, my model is the mountain. I still have like a huge part of the landscape. I have the waterfall, I have the mountain, but just not so much of downstream that makes that like roundish bulbous when you're shooting at a super wide.
And I chose the 14 to 24 millimeter because I wanted to experiment with 14 to 24 and see which focal length will work best for this landscape. And I'm leaning a little bit more towards the wider side. There's a nice bow, and I know Maria was saying that she doesn't like that bow that much because of how the lens might exaggerate it. But I think it does help it a little bit, and coming from a more traditional landscape perspective, I want to capture the vastness of the entire scene, and we'll see what we can get.
So it's blue hour, and one of the cool things right now is that this waterfall is still half frozen, which it already kind of looks like it's in a long exposure because it's just kind of one big piece of ice, but there is still some flowing water. But my settings, I'm shooting at 3.2 seconds, so I don't have to go too slow again because the water is already pretty still. My f-stop is 7.1 and I'm at an ISO 64. I'm trying to keep my ISO as low as possible. I am shooting on prime, which makes it much sharper and brighter, so I'm trying to keep my ISO down.
Right now, for my settings, I'm at f8 to get to the sharpest point of the lens and to get the entire scene in focus. For my shutter speed, I'm around half a second to slow down the water and get a nice smooth effect. There's not a lot coming out of the waterfall right now because most of it is frozen over, as am I as well. For my ISO, I'm around 100, but I may adjust that as the night progresses. I'm doing some HDR shooting because the light on the mountain in the background is a little bit brighter than the whole entire scene, which is the waterfall in our foreground. So with my R5, I'm just going into the settings and using the HDR function with a self-timer, which is one of the best parts about that feature. And what I'm doing is taking 3 separate exposures, 1 stop apart of the entire scene, and later in post-processing, I'll be able to merge those together for a nice high dynamic result.
The northern lights are dancing. It's a little bit less obvious to the eye, but the camera can really, really capture it. what's better than incorporating a person or maybe even yourself as a self-portrait, experiencing this amazing moment. After testing a couple times, I'm noticing what's easiest is to stack 2 photos. Because I want to keep my lens wide open, it's going to make it really hard to have both the background, the sky, and your person in focus. So I find blending 2 images to be the best option. And this is without adding any extra light. This is why I'm focusing for both the sky and the person. If I were to incorporate a light, then it would be a lot easier to just take 1 image. I'm also finding that I'm shooting at a quicker shutter speed than I was when I was just taking a landscape. So I am shooting at like 6 seconds rather than an 8 or 10 seconds when it's just a landscape. It's a lot easier to keep your model staying still for 5 seconds than it is for 8 seconds. My goal here is to kind of get Matt really giving us a look what I can see and have him onto the side of the mountain with the sky in the background. So now we're just gonna quickly use a little bit of light to focus on him. Ready? Great. Okay. And the reason I'm focusing on him first is because it'll be a lot quicker and easier to refocus for the mountain than it is on his face. All right, ready? Lights out. Don't move, no moving. And again, we're adding a 2-second timer to this. That way my hand isn't making any movement here. All right, taking the picture. Now we're focusing on the mountain, no moving. All right, lights out. I think I got the Aurora.
I think your Aurora was fantastic. You did have the leg up with the 20 and the 14 primes, very fast in low light, but you know, the 14 to 24, I still think it did really well.
But now it's time for landscapes. And okay, maybe this is your thing, but I do have the 20 and we're in Diamond Beach, which is so cool. And look at all of this ice. I'm not telling you my idea for my composition.
It's okay. I don't need, you know, I have my own ideas and I have my 14 to 24 again.
Okay.
So,
all right, ready?
let's do it.
See, it's a little too bright for Matt, and I know he's going for a long exposure, and he doesn't have an ND filter on right now. So I'm going fast shutter speed to get the waves crashing. So I have the opportunity to shoot wide open with a fast shutter speed, so I'm smart. Wow, it really did come all the way. That's crazy. So I am shooting on a prime, but I am also shooting on the Sony a7R5, which gives me a lot of megapixels to work with. It's a 60 megapixel full frame, but if I put it into APS-C mode, now my 20 turns into more like a 35 to give me that extra reach. I'm a little too far right now, and if I get too close, I'm gonna get wet. So I'm gonna put an APS-C on to see if that helps me give me the extra little push that I'm looking for.
I just took a huge spill and I'm a little banged up right now. But you know what? It's worth it for the shot. All right, so for this composition, I have a smaller piece of ice in my foreground. The reason is because there's some massive pieces of ice here and they look epic in person, but these smaller ones, the light comes through it in such a beautiful way that I wanted to capture. It just looks like nature's sculpture out here on this black sand beach, and the sun right behind it definitely accentuates all of like the curves in the ice. For my settings, I'm using around a half a second. My aperture is around 5 to 8 and my ISO is around 50. The reason I'm using a half a second shutter speed is I want to smooth the water, which is why I have a 4-stop ND on the front of the filter with the CPL, but I also kind of want to capture the dramatic motion of the waves as well. And the best way to do that is I have the tripod firmly placed in the sand so that it won't move. And I am moving back a little bit as the waves kind of crash on here. I'm not too worried about the tripod because I know it won't move, but obviously if you have stronger waves, you don't want to be doing that. But to actuate the shutter when I'm not here, I'm using interval shooting so that way I could pick and choose later on which shot I like the best. It is a little unnerving seeing the water come up to your tripod, but you definitely want to be careful here and make sure that your tripod is either firmly planted, or if you're not comfortable with it, then just move back. You'll still get a similar effect. You got a cut there, you got a cut here. Ow! Landscape photography battle scars. What are you gonna do?
Are you following me?
Just hanging back here.
Get your own composition.
I was heading that way anyways.
Yeah.
Small beach, Maria.
All right. Okay, so I think Matt got that one with the landscapes. He had the 14-24, way more range, way better lens for that type of landscape, especially with all of the elements on the ground at Diamond Beach. But now it's my bread and butter time, which is portraits. And I'm gonna use a couple of different lenses in different scenarios, and one that might surprise you. So I think this one's gonna be fun.
All right, I'm jumping on the 14-24 Sigma lens now for these shots so that I could have a little bit more versatility switching between ultra wide to just regular wide, and I don't have to do too much moving, although I'm messing around with incorporating some foreground from the ground. Can you do a flip? And a little bit to your left, like perfectly centered with this door. Yeah, perfect. Walk forward a couple steps. Look to your right.
So Matt in an orange jacket standing dead center, but I'm trying to see what my composition would look like from the same spot as Matt. I'm shooting on the 20 prime, but I personally like Matt over to the side a little bit because then I can get the white overhang, Matt on the left side, the black church, and the white door for all the different layers as opposed to his body covering those layers. So I guess you guys decide which one you like better. Just like that.
And it looks incredible right now. I'm on the Sigma 70-200 because I can get so much compression in this shot. And right now it looks fantastic with a foreground that we're really far away from the lighthouse, and we have the snow on the ground, a little bit of the rocks also in the foreground.
Using something like a 500mm lens can seem crazy for a portrait, but it makes for a really cool composition and something that's a little bit out of the box when it comes to portraits. So right now the clouds are pink, blue, purple, yellow, orange, everything. And it's the perfect opportunity for some silhouettes.
All right, she got me on that last one. I wasn't expecting her to pull out the 500mm prime. It's one of my favorite lenses and it's a secret weapon of hers, so I'll give her that one. For this next section, we're going to test out these lenses in an astrophotography scenario, and we're gonna head out to a plane wreckage. It's old, everyone survived, don't worry. It's going to be really cool, and I think my zoom lenses are going to perform really fantastic. So let's see what we can get.
You think you've been cold? Not this cold.
I needed some extra stops of light. I may have stole one of Maria's primes. Don't tell her. This isn't cheating, by the way, because realistically we all share lenses, but it is what it is. I'm here for the shot.
3, 2, 1, go. So for something like this, I'm shooting at about 10 seconds since I am on the 14, and I'm shooting wide open 1.4 and my ISO 2500. So I'm gonna play around to see what the light does with the headlamp and go from there. I might have to lower the ISO, but it should be okay. So I have a little trick up my sleeve for this sequence of astrophotography. Matt may be the more seasoned landscape and astrophotographer, but I'm gonna make an environmental portrait. So I'm gonna add a person in the doorway and have their headlamp point up to make a super epic photo. Okay, ready? 1, 2, go. Hold it. All right, light off. No, that's like really cool, wow. Yeah, I got this in the bag.
All right, I think we got plenty of shots here. I'm so stoked about this. This is looking epic. I'm so stoked. If I say stoked one more time. You won't believe what just happened. We're running on 0 hours of sleep. Are you guys showering?
No.
We've been up for 23 hours. Getting the opportunity to shoot on some of the best cameras with some of the finest glass made is something I don't take for granted. When you come here, there's no guarantee that you'll return the same.
Hopefully, you'll find some inspiration and a little bit of education to help you capture some magical moments. What a week it's been in Iceland.
Waterfalls, glaciers, and the Aurora.
Bucket list check.
That's for sure.
And I have to admit, the Sigma zooms are incredible.
What I tell you. And the Sigma, the primes, come on, your photos are fantastic.
Thank you. I am so blown away by this 50. But I need to know where we're going next.
Let us know in the comments below where we should go next.
Maybe somewhere a little warmer. And in the meantime, I'll race you back to B&H.
Sure. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2.